Hey everyone, this is Ricky with Spoiler Force Podcast, courtesy of Popluck Podcast. You can find more episodes of Spoiler Force Podcast on Apple Podcast, SoundCloud, YouTube, or on Facebook at facebook.com/popluckpodcast.
Spoiler Force Podcast! I choose you!
It's an LP
Alright, so this is Spoiler Force Podcast, episode 21. I know I mentioned that this was going to be uploaded a day or two ago once I came back from Cincinnati. Just to let you guys know, I did make it home safely. I got back home around Sunday evening, around 5 or 6 p.m. roughly, because I took a break in Lima, Ohio. I had some food there, and plus traffic wasn't running too bad, so I kind of just sped my way through the I-75 interstate, coming back to Michigan as well. Came home Sunday night, relaxed. Didn't really feel like the exhaustion of the drive into the next day when I had to go to work. Went to work and was completely exhausted. But the good thing was I was finally able to go back to sleep again, back in my house. Sleeping at the hotel was rough. Again, I mentioned this in my other parts as well, that I had issues sleeping because I was mentally like freaking myself out, like thinking about that weird, ghost shit. And then also the hotel bed was just too soft for me. I couldn't sleep in it, so it kind of irritated it irritated me physically as I was trying to sleep. But no, I'm back home now. I can sleep pretty well now. I'm trying to catch back up on my stuff here. On Monday, I had terrible Comic-Con blues, or post Comic-Con blues. You get overwhelmed with all this energy from Comic-Con, and then like to suddenly just get out of that environment, and then you come back to reality and just kind of settle down. It hit me like a freaking brick wall. It's I can't really explain it too well. It's just like most people who go to a lot of Comic-Con know what I'm talking about. Like, you just kind of lose that rush of energy. Yeah, I felt that for sure on Monday. And then yesterday I was going to record this third part here for my trilogy, and then I was just so physically exhausted still. Like, I was finally getting my sleep cycle back, and so I was concentrating more on my well-being than the actual podcast. But now I have time to record this third part. So again, this is part 3 of my Cincinnati Comic Expo experience. So what I'm currently doing as of right now, as I'm talking, I just got done downloading my 2 videos here that I recorded at the Comic-Con. They are the panel videos that I had. One on Friday with Bernard Hill, who is the Lord of the Rings actor. Again, that one I didn't record the entire thing because I thought it was going to take up too much space in my phone. But I did get the entire recording of the Ben McKenzie panel as well, and with the special guest Morena Baccarin as well. She showed up for like a good half hour because she had time to kill before her photo op. I'm actually uploading them right now, which is why you can hear my clicking noise here from the laptop. Also, just for our listeners to be aware as well, since I'm home, you're going to hear like footsteps, and sometimes you might hear talking or something like that. So if you don't mind, please don't mind that as well. It's just you're going to hear other people walking around in the house as well, like my roommates and stuff. Please try your best to ignore that, and I'll try my best to keep that audio out. Right now I am uploading both videos. I'll get that all edited, and once I get that done here. Okay, so I did want to go through here and just talk about a few things before I get to the main topic as well, with day 3 of Cincinnati Comic Con. So if you've been reading the One Punch Man manga, Saitama runs into Flashy Flash, who is one of the top S-Class heroes. The 2 chapters I'm talking about as of right now is 164 and 165 in the manga, not the webcomics, because the webcomics I believe they're still further ahead. And I'm not reading any of the webcomics, but I do know what happens a little bit with Garu and with Saitama. but the not the web comics, but the manga right now, Saitama he crosses paths with Flashy Flash, and Flashy Flash thinks that Saitama is a villain, so he tests his skill to kill Saitama, and then Saitama just does what he does best and just captures, like, he stops the blade and thinks that Flashy Flash is a villain, so he threatens to kill him on the spot. And then Flashy Flash kind of realizes that he's that that B-class hero that came to our meeting back at season 1 and demanded for coffee. So it's funny, their interaction's funny because, like, Flashy Flash is supposedly one of the fastest S-class heroes because he's like a ninja too, and so he tries to tell Saitama, like, you gotta stay away from this fight zone, and stay away from all the monsters. And then you realize that Saitama lives right above the monster organization, where they have all of their monsters at. His apartment is above the underground base because there's no taxes there, and he lives there for free because no one lives in that area. And if you don't remember, Saitama's broke. He's not a rich person, and he practically would do anything to get money to buy food and stuff. And their interaction is just hilarious because, like, you see how serious this S-class hero is, and none of them know how powerful Saitama really is. And so when he tries to outrun Saitama's like right behind him, and we're not trying to, but he's keeping up with Flashy Flash and telling him, like, where are we gonna go next? And so they kind of leave it off at that with 164, and then in 165 they kind of go back to the heroes that were on top of the that are above the base, so practically just they're outside normally. They're not like underground or anything, so they're outside the city, and they're just a bunch of A-class heroes. It's a bunch of A-class heroes that are fighting off the rest of these lower level demons or monsters. I'm sorry, lower level monsters, and they're just fighting them off, killing the rest of them. And then you see one of the executive monsters, who is a dragon level. He's I believe the name is Nien, which is kind of like a play off of the Nyan cat meme. So Nien is actually a cat that he was a normal cat that got too much love and affection, and then he became a villain over time, and he ends up working for the monster organization, and he's one of the top executives. He had a run-in with Saitama earlier in the arc and tried to fight Saitama and realized that Saitama didn't budge. He ran away through the cracks because he can physically fit through any like small crease or any small hole in walls and stuff like that because he's a cat. So he runs away, and he meets the heroes up top in the outside the city, defeats the A-class heroes, and they don't realize that he's one of the executives. He finds the kid that was actually the first one to get kidnapped, which is that rich kid. And then earlier in the arc too, the rich kid, there was two kids that was kidnapped. There was the rich kid from the beginning, back in season 2, where Metal Bat and Garu fought. There was that rich mayor or official's son that they were using for ransom. And then the second kid that was kidnapped was the boy that was around Garu, who kept calling Garu like an uncle or like Mr. So he was taken as well. And the heroes are still stuck in that underground base because they're looking for the second kid. The rich kid, he lied about the second kid being there, so they had to go back and save him. This is why they're fighting all the executive monsters still. So the end of 165, you see Nien, he pretty much beats all of the A-class heroes, and he's chasing down that kid, and they stop it there, or at least in that chapter. So that's what's going on right now. I do like this interaction with Saitama and the S-class heroes because it shows that these S-class heroes, as powerful as they are, they don't understand, or they always underestimate Saitama, which makes it hilarious because Saitama's character, he's just who he is. He's very blunt and very direct about who he is. He doesn't hide anything. He doesn't think much. He knows he's powerful, but he doesn't think like much of himself. He's not cocky or anything. He knows how powerful he is, but he just fights on the spot, and he never compares his abilities to the other S-class heroes. He doesn't like brag about it to them. So whenever he shows up and he surprises them, that's what makes it freaking hilarious. Last week's Demon Slayer episode was released as well. In Demon Slayer, they just kind of go into more of Tanjiro's training with the full focus breath. So he finally beats Kanao in their training, and they go into Kanao's background as well. And if those who didn't watch Kanao, she's the up and coming trainee to be the next pillar for the insect pillar, which is Shinobu. So Kanao, she can't make decisions for herself because she was an orphan growing up, and she couldn't do anything unless she was told. So what Kanao's caretaker is Shinobu and Shinobu's sister Kanae, and so Kanae gives her a coin to flip. So every time it flips into like heads, I believe, she makes that decision based off the coin. So you kind of see what kind of background she has, and which is why she's so stoic at times. Zenitsu and Inosuke continue their training as well, and they succeed in what they do. And pretty much they all continue their training, and they get stronger physically and mentally. And then you see that Tanjiro gets a new sword as well, and then also Inosuke does too, because his swords were jagged. They gave him new dual blades. And then what's so hilarious, like the guy who made his sword was telling Inosuke, like, this is the first time I've made dual blades for anyone. They have a nice indigo color to them, because each Demon Slayer, their sword has a different color to their blade. I believe in the manga they kind of say that it's related to the element that they're made of, and it adjusts to the user. It's good. That's going to play a big part for Tanjiro later on as well. Again, I won't get into the details of the manga yet. I'm going to talk about my review after the season 1 finale this Saturday. Depending on my guest, I may have a guest or not on Saturday, but regardless, I'm going to do a full review or not just a full review, but like an overall review of season 1 and the manga to where they're at right now. So pretty much talking about the highlights of what I think is the story as well. To break down each chapter and to break down each arc takes quite a bit, so I don't think I'm gonna have enough time to do that. I'm just gonna do my best to go over what I think is like the highlighted parts of each arc, talk about the characters, talk about the overall story, and then talk about the manga mostly, about where they're at in the manga. Back to the Demon Slayer episode, you see that Inosuke got the new swords, and he loves the swords, but then he walks outside, he grabs the rock, and he's looking for I guess a solid rock, and he breaks the swords with the rock to make it jagged again, and the swordsman or the blacksmith who made his sword like starts flipping out, and it's so fucking hilarious because you see like how hard they worked into making those swords just to see someone like Inosuke break the swords. So that was such a good part. Like this, when I read that in the manga, it was already funny, and to see it in animation was even funnier because of the voice acting, and you see just how they interact with each other as well. So I thought that was pretty hilarious. The end of the episode, though, they kind of tease the next arc, which is the train station arc. They show you the demon that's on the train, and apparently he's eating someone or like a passenger on the train, and they end it there. This Saturday is the season finale. Andrew and I have talked about this on our episode together. I believe it was episode 18. We talked about what we think is going to happen in the finale. We both were kind of right in a way. I didn't think they were going to show this train station, or at least the train in the last week's episode. But this week, I think they're going to probably end it to where Tanjiro, Inosuke, and Zenitsu step on the platform to the train. So right before they board the train, that's where the episode ends. I do think that they're still going to show the lower 5 or the lower moon meeting with Muzan, because Muzan ends up killing off all the lower moons anyway. So before the train station part, so I know that's going to play a big part. And again, like I've told Andrew, I think that they're going to show the silhouettes or tease each of the upper moons around, like to see where they're at, and especially with Upper Moon 1. And last week's manga was fucking amazing too, so I'm not going to get into that yet, but the upper moons are the characters that I'm really looking forward to seeing, and I'm looking forward to seeing them in the anime as well, or at least just the silhouettes, and to see how Muzan interacts with the characters as well. And then they also teased Netsuko speaking in the anime as well. I don't think that was in the manga at all, when Tanjiro was speaking to Nezuko when she was sleeping. So that was pretty cool to kind of hear her voice actress like say one or two lines in the anime, because all she really does is just make muffled sounds because of the bamboo stick that's around her mouth to make sure that she doesn't bite anyone. But that's such an easy role for an actress, though. I mean, all she does is just make muffled sounds, pretty much. So that's a pretty cool gig. Yeah, so that's pretty much the end of the episode last week. To continue on from Demon Slayer as well, a character that may be considered a demon is Batman. Now, Batman has been called many things before because of his suit. I believe there is a comic to where he does become a bat demon as well. I don't remember the exact comic book, but there's photos of him as well, and there's like statues released of that. But on this Batman topic, Robert Pattinson is the next Batman, and it's going to be directed by the Batman film is going to be directed by Matt Reeves, and Matt Reeves has done the Planet of the Apes trilogy, or the recent one of James Franco, Andy Serkis, like that. He did those ones, so those films were really good. I'm excited to see how Matt Reeves is going to do this film. I did want Ben Affleck to be a part of it because I think Ben Affleck's script was a part of this story. Ben Affleck was supposed to be working with Matt Reeves on this, I know, but I know that he was on the project. He was producing, writing, directing, even acting. He was doing so much to where I think he just stopped. I don't think he wanted to do it anymore. But I do believe Robert Pattinson is a great choice as well. At first glance, like when you first hear that he was selected to be casted, you do kind of think of Twilight as well. But you gotta understand that his other films that he's in, he's not that bad of an actor. He's overshadowed by Edward. Again, with Ben Affleck as well, I kind of underestimated Ben Affleck being the Batman, and it turned out he was one of the best at being Batman and Bruce Wayne. So with Robert Pattinson, I have no doubt that he'd be a great actor for that role. I don't think he'd have any issue with being Batman. It is based off the book The Long Halloween, which is written by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale. Jeff Loeb is a fantastic writer as well. He's done multiple Batman stories, and he's worked with Marvel. He's done the Jessica Jones show as well. He's really good at this mystery genre as well. So that The Long Halloween is perfect for the Batman story. The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight is actually based off of that too. Like there's some genres based off that, with the whole interaction of Harvey Dent, Jim Gordon, and Bruce Wayne. So with The Long Halloween, I hope that they kind of play that again as well, and find a good. It's going to be hard to find a good Harvey Dent as well, the way how The Dark Knight did, and with Jim Gordon as well, because Jim Gordon's a crucial part of the story. And with Jim Gordon, they've actually casted Jim Gordon in the Matt Reeves Batman. I believe his name is I think I've written it down, Jeffrey Wright. Now the thing about this actor is it's more diverse now. It's a black actor playing Jim Gordon, which I have no problem with. Or diversity is a big thing in these films. Now I do know that in Kevin Smith's podcast, or not his most recent one, but the one or two episodes before that, him and his co-host, they were talking about how in 2020 to 21, how Batman's going to be written as a black character, but it's not Bruce Wayne being rewritten. It's just another hero or another character putting on the cape and cowl of Batman. And they made a good point that Bruce Wayne has to be white because of the struggle and because he's privileged. And that, in that sense, you can kind of see why he does what he does and why he's able to do what he does, because realistically, if it was a minority character, there's no way anyone of a minority can, or anyone that's a minority can relate to a privileged minority, if that makes any sense. So I do agree with that 100%. So just make sure you check out that episode of Kevin Smith's podcast. It's Fat Man Beyond. Please take a listen to that, and that way you can understand where I'm coming from. Don't misunderstand or misinterpret what I'm saying. I don't think that I do agree that Bruce Wayne shouldn't be a different race. Bruce Wayne should always stay the same character as well, but to have an alternate character or be Batman is more understanding. So it's best not to retcon Bruce Wayne's origin. One of the theories is that Black Lightning might be the next Batman. So it's not. This is not confirmed. This is just theories right now. Black Lightning might be the next Batman, which I think would be pretty cool. I mean, Black Lightning has his powers too, and if he puts on the cape and cowl, he'll have all the tools of Batman. So it's just a meta-human Batman. I think that'd be pretty dope as well. But speaking on this Batman film, Jonah Hill he is in talks of being a character in the Batman film directed by Matt Reeves. The rumors is that he wants to be a main villain, so most likely it might be Penguin. But if it's based off the Long Halloween, he also might be casted as Calendar Man. And if you read the Long Halloween, Calendar Man plays a crucial part because he knows the dates of everything that's going to happen and all the coincidences that's going to happen throughout the story. I can see Jonah Hill playing Calendar Man much more than Penguin. People forget that Penguin's a very sophisticated character. Not only does he has like the physical look, but there's also the mental edge of Penguin to where he is pretty much a leader in the underworld, and his origin is very, you gotta put yourself in a very dark place to be Penguin. Robin Lord Taylor from Gotham played Oswald very well as someone who was growing up in Gotham and who slowly became the kingpin of Gotham. Hopefully they do take notes off of his performance as well. I think Oswald Cobblepot in Gotham was by far one of the best characters, and Robin Lord Taylor perfected that role of Penguin. And the same thing with the Riddler as well. Ed Nygma was fantastic. Both of them were complete standouts in the Gotham series, and I do believe that they shed like a much different light for both of these characters and the Batman's rogue gallery as well. I don't know if this is 100% true, but I think Jonah Hill demanded more money to be in the film. Whether he did or did not, I don't think he's gonna get it, because there's no way he's gonna get paid more than Robert Pattinson, who's the lead role of Batman. But again, I do think that Jonah Hill is probably gonna be Calendar Man. But if he is Penguin, then he has a lot to live up to. I'm not saying he's not a bad actor. I just don't think he has the chops to be a sophisticated character like Penguin. And people keep thinking Penguin as if he's Danny DeVito portrayal. If you read the comics, Penguin, he's a very complicated character to the core, because there's insecurities that he has. He's got to maintain Gotham in his vision. He's fighting everyone, not just Batman, but all the other mobsters that's against him. And there's all of this at hand, and I don't think Jonah Hill can bring up that kind of mentality of a villain to be Penguin. So those are my thoughts of what's happening so far with the Batman film. And speaking of Batman, one of his best villains, the Joker, has his film coming out next Friday. Yesterday I bought my tickets to a Thursday show, which is October 3rd. I'm going to be going at 5:15 right after work. I'm super excited for this film. And recently I saw on Facebook with the articles and stuff saying like how Warner Brothers issued a statement about parents letting their kids watch the film to prevent, like, I guess, psychotic thoughts or whatnot. And it's so fucking stupid that Warner Brothers has to issue this for their Joker film, and parents are getting so upset. Parents, if you don't want your kids watching the Joker film, don't fucking take them. It's as simple as that. It's rated R for a fucking reason. And people who look up to the Joker and Harley Quinn and even Deadpool as role models are fucking stupid. Don't let your kids read or watch that stuff if you're still concerned about that. Just because they're superheroes doesn't mean they're labeled always as good. And I don't think superhero comics should be given to kids at all until they're like in their their late teenage years, because they won't fully understand the concept of what these comic book brings. People always like overlook these stories and act like just because they have powers and shit that it's kitty and it's very childish, but no, there's very deep and very undertoned realism and life lessons in these stories, even in anime as well. I mean, look at Demon Slayer. You know, you think it's a cutesy little anime with, you know, siblings, but deep down he's killing demons. His family, Tanjiro's family was slaughtered. You know, they're fighting for their lives most of the time. It's some serious shit. So definitely be careful of what your kids are watching for sure, and it's definitely up to the parents' job. It's not the society's job. It's not the comic book writer's job. It's not the publisher's job to maintain this. Like, this is what makes their money for them. And as adults, you need to make sure that your kids are reading and watching the right thing. Don't blame these other people and these companies that this is why my kid's all fucked up. No, it's your fault as a parent. So grow some fucking balls. The Joker is out next Friday. If you haven't bought your tickets yet, they went on sale on Monday. So definitely buy them when you can. I've said this so many times, but Joaquin Phoenix is gonna kill this role. I'm going October 3rd, which is a Thursday night show. I'm glad I got my tickets early, so I was able to select my seat as well. Speaking of pre-ordering film tickets or movie tickets, Konosuba, the anime, has their movie coming out in the United States in select theaters. I think it's only like 600 theaters that's in the States that's premiering that movie in like a one night thing. I got mine for the Imagine Theaters in Royal Oak. It's on a Tuesday. It's a Tuesday night show. That's at 7. Imagine Theaters is a very nice theater. I just hate the fact that I gotta pay for parking over there, and it's so hectic to get there. But I'd rather do that and pre-order my seat than go to like an AMC where you gotta fight for your seat and shit. But Konosuba is definitely one of my favorite animes by far. I believe the genre is called isekai or isekai animes, which is kind of like Dungeons and Dragons genre. But the thing about this anime, it's comical. It's a fucking comedy. It's basically about Kazuma, who is a indoor sheltered nerd who dies of a heart attack and becomes reincarnated. So he selects Aqua, who is the goddess of life or whatnot. He brings her with him to the realm that he selects to defeat the Demon King, and he could have had like whatever he wanted. Out of spite, he selected her. So now him and Aqua and their two other teammates, Megumin and Darkness, is just their little adventures of trying to save money and do adventures and gain experience points and stuff like that. And I haven't finished watching season 2. I only have like 2 or 3 more episodes left. But the movie is based on Megumin, which is her background, and Megumin's their black mage who only uses explosion magic and one explosion spell. So all their experience, they get to input it on this little card that has like their class, their name, and stuff like that. And she puts all her experience points in her explosion magic. So she can only do that spell once a day because of its power, and she can't hold on to that kind of skill. So she always has a different chant too when she does the spell, but it's always explosion in such a crazy animated way, and it's fucking hilarious because I believe it's in season 1, where she does the explosion magic at a empty castle every single day. She just does these spell and it just hits the castle, and turns out like after hitting that castle for so many days that there was actually a demon living there, and he got so irritated because he's like, who the fuck is the one that keeps using the explosion magic on my castle? And it's so fucking funny. So if you haven't seen Konosuba, please take a chance and watch it on Crunchyroll, VRV, and whatnot, whatever anime you watch it on. It's a hilarious anime. I do think that they're gonna set up to the movie. I know that they took a hiatus from season 2. I don't think there's been any news on season 3 yet, but this film is gonna be so fucking funny, and I can't wait to watch it. I do want to backtrack a little bit here on the whole Batman thing as well. Earlier today, Harleen, the latest of the DC Black label books, written and drawn by Stephen Sajic. I believe that's how you say his name. His book of Harleen came out today. It's I believe it's a 3-issue series. If you follow him on Facebook, he actually wants to expand his realm of Harley and Ivy and the Joker as well. But Harleen is actually just a retcon of her origin. But Stepan Stajic has a fantastic way of writing stories, and his artwork alone is so fucking phenomenal. It's completely standout. I believe I mentioned on a previous podcast he did an arc for Aquaman where Aquaman is no longer king, and he practically is under like the he lives among the lower class and the poor, and because you think he's dead in that part of the arc, and it's Stepan Stajic, his artwork completely stands out. He did like one or two issues for Suicide Squad 2, and I love his like drawing for Harley Quinn. Like his style really matches Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy. So if he does come out with the book with Ivy and then does like another series with Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn, I'm gonna buy that right off the bat. I even have the latest Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy book. It's a 6-issue miniseries, and it's based off of the events of Heroes in Crisis too. I haven't got a chance to read it yet, but Art Germ did the variant covers, and it's a connecting cover, and I bought them right away. I wish I bought the ones that were on his website because it was signed, but it was like $40. So I'm like, fuck. I don't know if I want to drop that kind of money for just the signed cover. And I do have one issue that's signed by Art Germ, which is the I believe Spider Gwen, one of the Spider-Man books, but it's Gwen Stacy on it. And again, Art Germ is one of my favorite artists too, so definitely check him out. Okay, so now that I got all that out the way, time for the main topic, the icing on the cake. I think that's the right terminology. But day 3 of the Cincinnati Comic Expo. I didn't stay there too long. I woke up, checked out at the hotel around like 9 o'clock, went to Walgreens and bought some stuff, and then went to the Comic-Con. Sunday was actually the only day I got there before 9:30, which was the time that they let the VIP people in. So I got there around like 9:15, 9:20. I didn't have to wait too long in line. But I did stand in line next to some dude, and he stank like hell. In my very early episodes of Spoiler First podcast, I talk about the do's and don'ts of Comic-Con. You gotta make sure you don't smell like Comic-Con, man. Like, wear some deodorant. Make sure I know it's hot and it's hectic, but gotta maintain yourself, man. Like, you can't just smell like doo-doo the whole day at Comic-Con. It's fucking ridiculous, man. Take care of yourself. For me, I think my biggest issue for me was trying not to sweat the whole time, which is why I was drinking water, which is why I was keeping my movements to a minimal. If I felt like I was gonna break out in a sweat, I sat down, and it's so fucking hectic, or not hectic, but dudes especially, man. Oh my god, like the men at fucking Comic-Con smells like fucking booty hole and people who never took a shower. But once I got in, I bought some artwork. I went to this table and I bought the Demon Slayer artwork. But he had the holographic artwork at his booth. He was next to this one girl who was doing the Kirby artwork, and it was around the artist alley next to the Harp Twins. And I always see them. I see the Harp Twins all the time on like Comic-Con guest lists and stuff. And seeing them in person, honestly, I felt like they were kind of weird. Usually, I'm not weirded out by twins, but these two kind of weirded me out. So, but I think they got like 600,000 followers on their Facebook. So whatever they're doing right. But yeah, it was kind of weird seeing them in person because you just only see them on Comic-Con ads and stuff like that. But I was like, holy shit, they're real. But I bought this Demon Slayer artwork, and I went around looking for other stuff, and I did buy what did I buy? I bought the Demon Slayer artwork, and I bought this one. I bought this Dragon Ball Super, and and I also bought a Your Name artwork as well. I don't have the cards on me. My cards are like somewhere in my room. I just don't want to look for it. But yeah, it's they were really nice and stuff. Yeah, it was just more artwork for me to have in my room. Really. Walked around there, and then I was practically just waiting for the panels, really, just the Ben McKenzie panel. I was walking around the whole time debating if I wanted to other celebrities or do something last minute. But after buying the artwork, I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna wait for the panel. So I went to the Queen City panel room, which was in the upper floor, the biggest their celebrity panel room. And at 11, the doors open. So I was like, oh shit, okay, so VIPs, we get to go in first and we get to select our seats and whatnot. The thing I didn't know was that there was another panel before the Ben McKenzie one. So I actually walked into the G.I. Joe panel. And that panel consisted of Ron Dudat, who is that's the G.I. Joe artist, and he was actually like he designed all the toys and the artwork and the vehicles and stuff like that for G.I. Joe, so he has a lot of credibility. And then Neil Ross, Neil Ross was pretty cool. He did the voices for like for Rambo in the cartoons, Green Goblin, Voltron, G.I. Joe. His like history of voice acting reminded me a lot of Rob Paulson's too, where they just kind of fell into voice acting, and it was something that they didn't plan to do, but they made something out of that. And then also B.J. Ward, who is also the voice actress for Velma and Voltron, and I believe Wonder Woman, the classic Wonder Woman cartoons. Her story was pretty much the same as well, where she didn't plan to become a voice actress. She was actually an opera singer and a Broadway singer, and she kind of just fell into the whole voice acting thing by chance. Both of them did, really. And I wasn't a big G.I. Joe guy growing up. I knew what it was, but it never really drew my attention as a kid. I was more into like Thundercats and Dragon Ball Z and Voltron, like more Japanese styled art. I know that G.I. Joe, like, that's a very American thing. To hear their panel, though, to just kind of see and hear their stories of how they became what they became, and how they're still working till now, like at their age, like they still have small gigs here and there, but you can see and hear the experience of these actors, man. It's like Rob Paulson is such a great he's such a great person to listen to on this podcast, Talking Soons. Everything he always says in his podcast, where it's like, it's not about the money, it's not about this and that, it's about what you're doing and what you do and how you love what you do. You see that in Neil Ross and B.J. Ward, and when they talk about their experiences of when they were acting together in the studio, and all the fun times that they had, and how they loved that, because they never got to really watch their own shows that they voiced in, but to hear fans and people tell them that, your voice changed my life, your voice did this for me, the show did this for me, and all this positive feedback, and to hear them say that, that's what they live for and that's what inspires them, it's truly amazing. And I think voice acting back then is more genuine than voice acting right now. Voice acting right now, there's a lot of great talent, but there isn't that factor where how these older voice actors, more experienced voice actors, how they have their love for their job, whether they make money or not, they're still gonna do it. So there's like a bit of a line there. I'm not trying to dog on any of the current voice actors now. I mean, a lot of them are great. Again, I'm not into the English dub of Funimation right now, but just hearing the actor for Bakugo on day 2, that dude was fucking amazing. Just to hear him say whatever he said live, he's great. But I think with these older and experienced voice actors, they just have this more raw, genuine appreciation to the fans. That's just my take on that. And so to hear that from their panel was, again, it surprised me. I wasn't expecting to sit throughout the whole thing. I literally sat through like 40 minutes of the panel, and then once they were done, everyone was coming in for the Ben McKenzie panel. And I got lucky. Good thing I came in like around 11. I got front row seats. So Ben McKenzie's panel was a really good one. I recorded the whole thing. I'm actually uploading it right now as we speak. His wife, Morena Baccarin, she surprised us. She sat down and spoke with us, or not spoke with us, but she kind of just she she got to talk with the moderator for a good 30 minutes before she went to her Firefly photo op, and they just kind of talk about like what their experiences were and how does it feel to be directing each other and acting with each other and stuff like that. So it was really cool, and I never knew that Ben McKenzie was a football player. He actually played football with Drew Brees in high school, so that was something cool and new to learn. Um, his family, he comes from a family of writers and or screenwriters and playwriters, so that was pretty cool to hear too. And then yeah, once we got through Ben McKenzie's like stories and experiences, we got to ask him questions. I got to ask him a Q&A. I wish my question was better, but it was just so on the fly. So I just asked him like, what were your thoughts on, throughout the entire series of Gotham, which actor do you feel like you had the best dynamic or the best interactions with on the set? Obviously, you can see that he works well with everyone, and that my favorite was between him and Robin Lord Taylor. But from his answer, he said that he was working with his best, or his best character interaction was with the actor for Harvey Bullock. Let me just look up his name. I don't want to miscredit him. Donald Logue. Yeah, Donald Logue. So the actor Donald Logue played Harvey Bullock, and again, you kind of forget that these two have the most screen time together because they're partners. So yeah, I can see where he was coming from with that answer. But by the time Ben McKenzie answered my question, I can tell he was already getting tired. His interactions with the fan kind of was dwindling down a little bit, because you can see like how he was very active in the beginning, and then later on towards the end in the video, you kind of just see him like speak a little bit more calmer and kind of just trying to get through the rest of the time. And what's funny in this panel, my dumbass, when Morena Baccarin left, she's like, "Bye everyone." My dumbass fucking waved back. I waved back at her. I felt so fucking stupid too, because like I'm in the front row, and I'm pretty sure everyone saw my dumbass do that shit. So yeah, I was like so in awe and so fascinated by her that I was like, "Oh, bye." And I looked fucking stupid doing that. That was pretty much the panel for Gotham. Again, it wasn't much because most of it's going to be in that video that I'm uploading. So by the time it's done uploading, I'm going to post that link with the description for the podcast episode here. And that's pretty much what happened on the last day of Comic-Con in Cincinnati. Again, I just went to the panels, I went home, and that was pretty much it. And for those of you who were wondering, I did get my full refund. I got it back on Tuesday. So, again, fuck you to the Millennium Hotel Cincinnati for fucking up my money like that. But I got it all back after my dispute. So, I'm glad I got to get that money back right after Comic-Con. What the fuck? That was supposed to be more Comic-Con money, but oh well. But overall, this experience at Cincinnati Comic-Con, I gotta say, it was a lot better than I thought it was gonna be. For a con that's only been there for 10 years, they were pretty well organized, very clean, great guest, great artist alley, overall great experience. Yeah, I had a great time. And would I go back to Cincinnati Comic-Con? Yeah, I would. Honestly, when I went live on Facebook, I was just upset and said that I wouldn't come back. But after this past weekend, I would probably go back, but I'd probably book at the Hyatt Hotel instead, or at another hotel compared to the fucking Millennium Cincinnati. But yeah, that's what I pretty much did for that weekend, and I came home. So this is part 3 of the Cincinnati Comic Expo 2019. Again, this weekend I will be doing a Demon Slayer review of the anime season 1 and of the manga that's up to date to that point. So probably up to chapter 176 if it's out by then. I'm trying to get my cousin to be back on the podcast. My cousin Lee Mong. He was my very first guest on my on this whole interview thing and this whole guest thing on my podcast. So that was back at episode 6. So definitely listen to that, because he's the actor from he was an actor on the set of Gran Torino. So if you haven't listened to that yet, listen to that. It's a great interview, a great time. And I'm trying to get him to be on the podcast again just for this Demon Slayer stuff, because me and him, we've been reading and theorizing together with Demon Slayer, and he has great theories too. He's mentioned some things that I didn't think of. I mentioned things that he didn't think of. So we kind of have a great back and forth with this whole Demon Slayer thing. His theories actually were kind of right. They're not exactly 100% right, but most of them, the majority of it was right. So I definitely want him on the podcast for that reason. If not, then I'm just gonna do a Demon Slayer episode myself and talk about what I've been theorizing, along with some of his thoughts that we've spoken together about. And then and the next Friday I will be having Josh Taub from Blue View Cinema on as well. We're gonna be talking about Tommy Wiseau and our fascination of Tommy Wiseau, and also his film crew and his group and what they've been doing and what they're going to do and stuff like that. So I'm very excited for that, Josh. If you're listening, be prepared. I will contact you before that happens as well, maybe sometime this weekend or early next week. And again, October 10th, big day, Thursday, big day. I'm going to be recording with Zhonghlu of Zhonghlu Beauty Care. Zhonghlu, or Yer Yang, is a Hmong. She's a Hmong beauty care, skincare entrepreneur. She has her own line of products as well. She does storytelling on YouTube, especially with Hmong folklore stories. She does that. She also does writing, and again, she filmed her own Hmong film as well. So I will be talking to her about her career, her entrepreneurship, and just overall who she is as a person. So I don't want to make it too interview styled. I want her audience and my audience to kind of know who she is as a person. And there's lots of things we're going to be talking about as well, about the community overall and support, and what is it, the differences of being like a Hmong American and whatnot. And then October 18th, another big day, October 18th, which is a Friday, I believe, or Friday or Saturday. But October 18th, Van Brooks, comedian, social advocate, athlete, rapper, content creator, overall social media star for the Hmong community. Someone I'm a fan of. Again, he's going to be on the podcast too. So my podcast with Zhonghlu and Van Brooks are going to be over the phone. So I'm working on that as well to make sure that the audio goes well and that it's not like muffled or doesn't feel like it's far away. I'm still working on that as well. But overall, please stay tuned for those two episodes. Those two are, I mean, not just those two, but all of next month, really. I'm so excited to have such a diverse group of guests and such an amazing cast of people for my podcast here. By far, some of the best guests I've pulled within a month. It's all about scheduling and timing and stuff like that. So I've been working on myself to be more patient about that as well. After Van Brooks, I'll be taking a 2-week hiatus. So I'm trying to push out to episode 25 overall, and then once I get done my podcast with Van Brooks, I'm gonna take a 2-week hiatus, and then maybe try to push out 5 more episodes after that to get to 30 episodes by the end of the year. That's what I'm gonna try to do. But by November and December, that's the holidays, so it's gonna be kind of hard to do that. But I'm going to try my best to get to 30 episodes by the end of the year. And if not, it just gives me more reason to work harder for 2020. And so, this is all what I've been working on and planning to do. Thank you to everyone who's been following my Facebook or the Pop Luck Podcast Facebook, to everyone who's been following Spoiler First Podcast, and to the 3 people who rated Spoiler First Podcast with 5 stars. Thank you. And if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, please review and rate my podcast so that way when you look for it, it'll be the first one to come up. I can't thank everyone enough who's accepted my cards. To everyone who's a new listener, subscriber, who's been listening to me from day one, to everyone overall, to all of my followers, everyone, thank you so much for listening to my content, sharing, liking, being a part of this journey with me. I can't thank you guys enough. I mean, it's something that I'm very appreciative of. Again, this whole podcasting thing, I was not expecting to even get to where I'm at. I honestly had very, very low expectations. I was doing this just to get back into podcasting again, out of just my admiration of podcasting. But to be able to get these guests, to be able to get how many followers I have today within a 4-month span, it's truly amazing to me. So thank you to everyone who's been following me and whatnot. And if you can, please interact with us through the email as well. I posted this on the Poplug Podcast page. If you have any questions for any of the upcoming guests, email poplugpodcast@gmail.com. And that way I can ask the future guests your questions, and I'll mention your name and ask them what you want to ask them as well. And hopefully they'll give you a shout out too. But again, this is episode 21 of Spoiler Force Podcast, part 3 of the Cincinnati Comic Expo Experience 2019. My name is Ricky. Thank you for listening, and have a great night. If you enjoyed this episode, follow my Instagram at RickyVang92, RickyVang92, and follow Poplug Podcast on Facebook.com/PoplugPodcast.